You know, there are some places in this world, places steeped in such sorrow and rage that they leave a scar on the very fabric of reality. Places you shouldn't go. The tomb of the forgotten king was one of them. Of course, I didn't know that then. To me, it was just the score of a lifetime. My name's Leo, and I've always been, let's say, a procurer of rare antiquities, a fancy term for a tomb robber. The legend of King Vorlag the Uncrowned had haunted the whispers of my trade for years. A king so despised, so utterly erased from history, that his name was struck from every record, his statues ground to dust. They said his tomb was hidden in the Serpent's Tooth Mountains, guarded not by traps, but by a curse potent enough to curdle blood. For most, that was a warning. For me, it was a billboard. After 3 weeks of deciphering rotted maps and bribing tight-lipped locals, I found it, a fissure in the rock, almost invisible, masked by a curtain of thorny vines. The air that seeped out was cold, ancient. It smelled of dust and something else, something metallic and bitter, like old blood. My heart was pounding, a drum against my ribs, but not from fear. It was pure, unadulterated greed. Inside, the tomb wasn't grand. It was a prison. The walls were rough-hewn stone, bare of the usual glorious murals. The only carving was a single, repeated symbol above the main sarcophagus. A crown, shattered in two. It felt personal, vengeful. The sarcophagus itself was bound in thick iron chains, each link as thick as my wrist. It wasn't meant to keep people out. It was meant to keep something in. I went to work, the sound of my bolt cutter snapping. The ancient iron echoed like gunshots in the crushing silence. One by one, the chains fell away. With a final, groaning heave, I slid the heavy stone lid aside. The inside was empty. Not a speck of gold, not a single jewel, just dust and a withered, mummified corpse, clutching a simple, unadorned iron scepter. I was furious. All this for nothing? I snatched the scepter from the mummy's grasp. The moment my fingers closed around the cold metal, the air in the tomb dropped 20 degrees. A whisper slithered through the silence, not in my ears, but inside my head. Thief. I spun around, my flashlight beam cutting wildly through the darkness. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched was overwhelming. The whisper came again, louder this time, layered with centuries of fury. Ikiadia. You dare desecrate my rest? You, who reek of the world that forgot me. The sarcophagus lid, the one I'd barely managed to move, slammed shut with a deafening boom. The flame in my lantern sputtered and died, plunging me into absolute blackness. Panic, cold and sharp, sank its teeth into me. I fumbled for my headlamp, my hands shaking. When the beam finally flickered on, he was there, standing between me and the exit. He wasn't a wispy, see-through ghost. He was solid, terrifyingly real, a towering figure in spectral armor, his form flickering like a dying flame. Where his face should have been, there was only a swirling vortex of shadow. 2 points of burning, hateful red light staring out from the abyss. "King Vorlag, they erased me," the voice boomed, shaking the very stones around me. "They took my name, my kingdom, my legacy. This tomb was my final prison. And you have brought the key." He didn't mean the scepter. He meant me. He raised a gauntleted hand, and the shadows in the room writhed, coalescing around him. I saw flashes of his life, his reign, his betrayal. I saw his own brother leading the revolt, his own people cheering as his name was cursed. I felt his unending, burning hatred as they sealed him away, not just in stone, but in oblivion. He wasn't just a ghost. He was a vortex of pure, distilled vengeance. "I'll put it back," I screamed, holding out the scepter. "Just let me go." The red eyes flared. The world outside has forgotten true fear. It has forgotten its king. I will remind them. And you, little thief, will be my herald. He drifted towards me, not walking, but gliding over the stone floor. The cold he emanated was a physical force, freezing the air in my lungs. I was paralyzed, pinned by a terror so profound it felt like a religious experience. This wasn't just a haunting. It was a judgment. He reached for me, his shadowy fingers extending. The last thing I saw before the darkness consumed me was the reflection in his spectral armor. I saw my own face, contorted in a silent scream, and behind me, I saw the exit to the tomb, the way out into the sunlit world, a world that was about to learn the name of the forgotten king, a world he was now free to walk, all because I couldn't resist the allure of one last score. I opened the door to his prison. Now, he's opened the door to mine, and I don't think this one has an exit.